I tried once, literally, I joined a step class very, very briefly, and the woman actually said to me, "Do you have any experience with step?" And I was so mortified, I was just like, well, I got in here, didn't I? So I'm at least like mildly proficient, I think, at walking, but not at your class. Your class is terrifying. All right, this is titled The Social Network. There's one thing I'm good at, it's fucking titles. So here's an excerpt from the saddest, loneliest part of my life. I had moved back home with my parents after living in LA for 2 years and was realizing, as I unpacked my boxes, that I did not know anyone in my hometown aside from my parents. I sat in my bathrobe on a Saturday evening, my bare feet on the cold blue tile of my mother's kitchen. And right up front, you can see part of the problem, because as soon as I say it was a Saturday evening, and then I use the phrase, I sat in my bathrobe, you should be thinking, why? Why is someone in her 20s sitting around in her bathrobe on a Saturday evening? And when it is you in that position, when it is Saturday night and it is you in that bathrobe, your mind continually conjures images of friends having fun. Sitting in a coffee shop, sitting around a coffee table, clinking beer glasses at a neighborhood bar, or going to some club where you know you're gonna have a shitty, horrible time, but it doesn't matter because you're out and you're in your 20s and it's great. Those were my old Saturday nights. I had left my life in Los Angeles for New York, but my friends from college remained in Los Angeles. My friends from high school had dispersed to wherever their dreams had taken them, mainly medical and dental school. And my parents, having transformed into cartoonishly old caricatures of their former selves, went to sleep every night at 8:30, which they continue to do. There is something horrifically humbling about sitting in total silence in your parents' wing chair, reading The World According to Garp, and rewatching seasons 1 through 5 of Will and Grace, which you own on DVD, knowing that other people your age are out experiencing the world. And the part that is both horrifying and humbling is realizing that you do not have any plans for the following Saturday, or the Saturday after that, or the Saturday after that. That your calendar is completely empty. And the only people keeping you company are Will and Grace, and Karen and Jack, and occasionally Garp in the magnificent and melancholy world, according to him. I grasped the flimsy paperback, trying to read the words on the page as my brain tried to shut out the 4 words that continually formed in my mind. I have no friends. I stared at the brightly illuminated computer screen. The hardest part of being alone is absolutely the silence. It is overwhelming. It fills the nooks and crannies of your universe like ether. How does one find friends, I thought? You just meet them, don't you? You're in kindergarten next to some girl and you find out you have the same birthday and your mothers are both named Renee and you love Popples and ta-da, friends! Right? Isn't that it? You go to the same camp and you meet someone who laughs at the same things. You both hate oatmeal, it's so gross, and ta-da, friends! You wind up sharing a dorm your sophomore year, and even though you're a writing major and she's a theater major, you love The Daily Show and Natalie Merchant. You're addicted to snoot on your computers, and ta-da, friends! It was so easy, I thought. It was so easy to make friends when there were friends to be had. But, I thought, looking at the expanse of my mother's kitchen, there is no one here but me. I lived, I mistakenly thought, in the age of computers can solve anything. Staring at the computer scene, I went to the Google search page and waited with my fingers paused over the keys. Gingerly, I typed the phrase, "how to find friends." I hit search and it bombarded me with dating websites. I frowned. I typed in, "how to find friends, not dates." And again, it bombarded me with dating websites. I typed in the question, "how do you meet people?" which brought up a mix of dating websites, quotes about meeting people, and the Mitch Albom book, The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. I began to get irritated the way you do when you're using an automated call service and the computer does not seem to understand you and you are shouting the words, "No, I said accounts payable, goddammit, accounts payable, operator, I want to talk to a fucking operator." My hands got really tense and I wanted to type in, "friends, how do you find friends, goddammit?" But that would be useless because writing the word goddammit is not going to help you find friends any more effectively through a search engine. I'm not even sure it is possible to find friends through a search engine. I tried, but the internet at the time had no advice for me other than join a book club, or date someone, or maybe you can just get used to being alone. It is surprisingly unnerving being that alone. The last time I had trouble making friends, I was 13, which is a terrible age to be. I would not be surprised if the anxiousness surrounding the number 13 is derived from people's universal unhappiness at that age. And I dealt with it by writing in my diary and reading pieces of the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, which I found on my father's bookshelf and which I quickly realized was not in any way directed at girls entering junior high. So we're a decade later. In the kitchen, back to square one. My only contact with the world at this time was a blog called The Ugly Volvo, where I would write about my family because you write about what you know, and when you're living with your family, you can't help but write about your family. So I wrote about my family. I wrote about being alone and confused in my early 20s, and people that I did not know would comment and say, "This is very funny," and "Your dad is very funny," and I would say, "Thanks," and for a brief moment would feel like I knew them and would feel like I was a person again, having a conversation, interacting with another human being. But on Saturday night, even those people, whoever they were and wherever they lived, were doing something else. No one was at his or her computer except for me, but I did not want to sit here for the remaining Saturdays of my life playing Minesweeper and continually checking my empty email inbox. I needed to get out of this. No one was at his or her computer except for me, but they would be back there eventually, I knew, and I began to type a blog post to the people online, the random people that I did not know, the only people, it seemed, who were listening or who even knew I was alive, announcing that there was something I had wanted to do since the age of 14 or 15 that I had never had the courage to attempt. Great things, it seems, are often born out of complete desperation. I had always, I typed, wanted to be a stand-up comic. Always. And I'm not positive why I brought it up after letting the desire stay dormant for so long, and I'm not positive why I brought it up at all. Maybe there's something about being so completely alone that fosters a desire to connect with other people, either by sitting with them in intimate conversation, or by standing on stage saying phrases like, "Have you ever noticed?" and "Am I right, ladies? Am I right?" I had always wanted to be a comedian, I said, and I hit the update journal button and sent my blog post out into the void, and then went back to my father's wing chair, conflicted, to finish reading The World According to Garp. By the next day, people had responded saying, "Yeah, do it." And I laughed it off since it wasn't Saturday night anymore and I felt way less lonely, but more responses came in saying, "Yeah, you should do it. It's terrifying, but do it. If you're waiting for the moment when it's going to be 1 ounce less scary than it is now, you'll never do it, and you'll regret it for the rest of your life." And while getting on stage puts you at risk for paralyzing rejection, it could not, I realized, be any more frightening or painful than the slow, agonizing death of spending another weekend alone in my parents' kitchen. And a few weeks later, on a weeknight that would normally have been spent alone with a Reader's Digest and a bowl of cream of wheat, I drove my Volvo down to Manhattan to attend a comedy open mic. I entered the room where I did not know anyone, and I found a small green sofa to the side where I could sit. No one sat next to me. And I stood up and I very nervously and very awkwardly told a few jokes to people uttering a few laughs, and then I got off stage and sat back on the small green sofa alone. The other comics were gathered in groups of 3 or 4 around small tables, tossing or passing notes to each other, and they did not talk to me, and I did not talk to them. Pardon me. And I drove home that evening, proud of myself, but still lonely. The following week I drove in again on the same day, and I staked out the same sofa. And the week after that, and the week after that. And I sat there trying to focus on my jokes that I had written. A joke about a nail gun, a joke about getting a haircut. But all I was really thinking was, I need to talk to someone. I don't care who, I don't care about what, but I need to sit across from somebody and connect with them. I need a person who, when I walk in the door to an open mic, waves and goes, "Hey, we're all sitting over here," and then smiles and pushes his or her chair to the side a little so that I can squeeze in. I need someone who I can occasionally go to brunch with. I need someone to ask for my email so they can constantly IM me from their office telling me how much they hate their job, and that I can IM them back telling them how much I hate mine. These are the things that I want. They are such little things, I said to myself. There are so many people wishing for fame and fortune and immortality and month-long Riviera vacations, and I am asking for so little, I think. I am asking for someone who will let me crash at their apartment if I am tired. I am looking for someone to notice, basically, that I'm alive. And it is just at that moment that a girl with very curly hair, who is sitting with two other comics, turns her head 180 degrees and looks at me. "You were funny," she says. "You can sit with us if you want to."